What's good? What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Over here, just call it Club J Baz or Club, whatever you want to call it. But this is where we're just gonna be kicking some real knowledge, give a little insight on some daily routine, daily actions that we do, daily workouts, some other things going on that we're doing, like planning and business, a little bit of politicking, and a little bit of entrepreneurial conversation and things of that nature. So basketball as well, so we just making that transition. Um, just making that transition over here to the podcasting world. So um, yeah, man, that's just what we got. That's what we're gonna be getting into. We're gonna be getting into a few things in this podcast right here. It's a lot of noise because they got construction work going on, but yeah, so we just gonna get into I wanted to bring up this subject right here about nationality. Um Nationality was the first subject I'm gonna talk about because when we look at nationality, people get the whole situation or the whole term mixed up. Like, we're always told that the most important thing in order to go for in terms of developing ourselves is focusing on our economics. But it's before you get into the fact that you can focus on economics, you have to have a sense of nationality first. And because nationality is what ties you to land and what ties you to natural resources. Um, and those natural resources then become your economics, which then become your politics, which then become your social structure, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to point that out because when we look at nationality, is good, or I tend to tie it with natural resources. Because when you can go within yourself and understand like the gifts you have within yourself, and then the natural skills that you already possess, and to be able to use those natural skills in order to craft out your purpose or craft out your future and your abundance. A lot of times we get caught up in the system or what we see in social media, and we think that we have to go outside of ourselves or do something that somebody else is doing in order to get where we want to get in life, or um, get that type of success that we think we can get if we do it somebody else's way. But it'll never happen that way, and the journey doesn't really begin to actually start um, manifesting itself until you go to the natural skills you have and start to develop those skills, and then through those natural skills develop, and prepare yourself up there. So yeah, I wanted to bring up nationality because I think that in the grand scheme of things, a lot of times we try to take um we try to take somebody else's route, especially as a culture and as a community. We try to take somebody else's route and the way that another culture does things, and we don't really go within ourselves and try to establish those economics within our own means. Now, this comes from decolonization, but really, when we look at how the best way to create our own abundance, it can't be through a system that already enslaved you or enslaved us. and that it's already been exploiting us. Because when you try to create abundance that way, it's not gonna um, it's not gonna turn out. I mean, it just obviously it's not gonna work because that's the same means that puts you in the predicament that you're in. So it cannot be. It can't be. I mean, So that's the whole point of establishing a sense of nationality first, um, because when you can establish a sense of nationality, not only does that tie you to land, but it ties you to natural resources. Now this can be physical too, because yeah, this can be physical too because when we look at our natural our natural resources, this comes from Africa, and it basically that's Africa becomes the natural resources, and that becomes the base in which that your economics or starts to propel your. That's the direction you start to go. The way you settle yourself and the way you carry yourself starts to be based on the natural resources of Africa, and that's the important thing in order to be connected there and to be operating from that sense that's much bigger than just over here. Because a lot of times um, we try to take the disconnected route of trying to do something by ourselves, and what we do by ourselves. Not only do we not have the information, but we don't have the tools to get the job done uh, in what we're trying to do. A lot of times we separate ourselves when we get into the entrepreneurial world, and we think that if we operate separately from everybody else, this is what's going to give us the best result. But at the same time, man, like, you need help, and the best way to go about it is, of course, is to be connected to something and to be in sync with something. Um, that way you can bring out the best of of the skills that you have to something much bigger than what you're already doing. So yeah, I think that's my thing. I think that's the most important thing when you look at trying to um, develop yourself, especially like carve out your career and what you want to do in life. Is to definitely be in sync with something and just operate and flow to to the to the thing or to whatever it is that you're in sync with. That way you get the most out of yourself. Um, Another thing is it's a matter of being effective and not egoistic. A lot of times, man, like, we want to be egoistic in how we do things, and we have our pride in something, and we attach ourselves too much to certain things, and we end up not being as effective as we should because of our own pride. And pride comes from the internet, and it comes from being so connected to influence. And when you're influenced because when you get influenced a certain way that you have to go to the NBA, or that you got to play overseas, or you got to do all this to look a certain way, now your pride is taking you out of your natural self, and now you're not operating and functioning in the at the beat of your own rhythm, right? So now that becomes a problem. So I think it's important to definitely watch pride and watch your ego, and make sure that you stay in sync with something, and come with that mindset of how can I be the most effective and not egoistic. You know what I'm saying? And like in what you do. So that's definitely another point I wanted to make. Um, but yeah, that's definitely the thing. It's about the natural being connected to you, the natural skills you have, and then moving on to developing complementary skills. Complementary skills being the skills that will assist you into getting the job done in the technical field. So the complementary skills are important, but at the same time, you don't get complementary skills and you don't get a technical functioning or a sustainable technical function without being rooted within your own natural skills. It's not sustainable. Eventually, one day or the other, it's going to veer off somewhere. So um, that's the vehicle. Um, is those natural skills that you have. So that's important. Um, but yeah, that's definitely what we wanted to talk about. Yeah, yeah, but I definitely did. I want to get into some just some little morning routine stuff, especially when we talk about trying to become like an entrepreneur and trying to really grow yourself and expand your own mind. Um, it's always important to start to expand your mind and get more educated on Africa and on what's going on in on a broader scope. Because when you can get that broader scope and understanding of what's going on in Africa as well as what's going on here and what's going on all over the world, you have more information to operate off of. And now it's not you're not operating in a sense of not having the information you need, right? Because when you don't have the information you need, you're subjected to someone who does have that information. And a lot of times, as us in America, especially, we get to that point. We come to that point to where we get exploited because we don't have all the information because we're only seeing from this one dimensional lens of just what's happening here in America. So that's another important thing, especially if you're trying to become if just when you're trying to grow yourself and do something big, become an entrepreneur. Um, yeah, you have to expand your mind and broaden your scope and get the pieces of everything in order to be able to fight fight this type of battle. So um, yeah, yeah. In order to fight the battles you need, you got to expand your mind. So this goes into religion and spirituality and all these different types of things. Um, it's good to get educated on these different types of things. That way you don't operate from a one-dimensional standpoint, especially when it comes to communication, one, and two, becoming more familiar and understanding of other things outside of your environment. Um, so yeah, that's the other important thing in terms of expanding your mind, getting into that. Like yeah, when we talk about the different types of things, like the African uh, tradition, the African traditions, and spiritual practices that are similar to what we already do. Um, I feel like once we get familiar with this sort of stuff, this is what will connect us more and give us a be more comfortable in ourselves, understanding these things right here and how it pertains to us already. Um, so when we talk about Christianity, Christianity is a one lens religion. Because it traps it like traps you in in some sort of space which lowers your self esteem and it demoralizes you and your self esteem, and it doesn't allow you to operate at the highest standpoint that you can operate at, which is my opinion. Um, and I know there's a lot of others' opinions too, but that's that's the thing. And the other thing about Christianity is that it teaches you foreign practices and foreign cultures. It teaches you foreign practices that you don't understand or that doesn't really tie back to you. So I think that when we speak on Christianity, it's important to be able to decolonize and to be able to kind of de deformulate yourself with these Christ, Christian practices, the practices of Christianity, but the text itself, you know, it's just a matter of decolonizing the mind and what Christianity has done to the minds of our black people. Um, and when you can do that, and you can start to decolonize from the mental effects and the mental entrapment and enslavement that comes from that, then that is one of the first steps in terms of um, that's a big step in terms of trying to propel um, trying to get yourself going. So I think I'm gonna conclude this message right here. This is a little bit of a slow video. I got to get used to doing this more. But we just gonna keep unpacking and just talking about certain things. I don't know how often I'm gonna do these. It might be often that I do these and just start to break down my mind and just start to unpack these things. So yeah, I'll catch y'all in another video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. All right. So before I let myself off the hook, I wanted to make a part two to this um, little podcast right here. Because I wanted to talk about I wanted to really get in depth into these natural skills, because this stuff right here, when you can carve out what's inside of yourself and everything that's inside of yourself and block out social media and block out all the outside noise and really get into like yourself, this is the vehicle that we use to propel ourselves. This is the vehicle that we use in order to manifest everything we want to do. So our ability to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and our ability to, whenever any environment that we get into, to be comfortable and to be balanced and to be sustainable. We must have our natural skills and our natural selves in check, and not only in check but flourishing, because your natural skills, when I'm flourishing in my natural skills, that is the abundance, or that is the root in which everything else springs from. All of my connections, all of my ability to be fruitful all stimulates from how well put together my natural skills are. Everything branches off from that. Everything branches off. Everything is an extension of that. So if you look at artists, you look at people who really get in tune with what's in their mind, their imagination, and carve it out for it to be art and messages. The art and messages of an artist become his abundance and becomes what his extensions are.